Let's jump into part 2 of queen rearing. I'm excited to get into this today because I think it's really going to be helpful for all of us to talk about queen rearing. And so queen rearing is, as we talked about last week, it gives us such an edge in beekeeping. That's powerful edge of being able to control our characteristics that we're looking for, and we can control the timing of when we should have queens available because we're raising them ourselves. And if you look at the image there of the cells, and I've got a close up there of down below, and that, if you look to the left of that little red cell, this is the plastic queen cup. You can see the 1-day-old larva floating in royal jelly. Okay. And that's the part that you graft. So tonight I'm going to be talking a little bit more about grafting, because that's kind of the roadblock. That's kind of it's kind of the sticky point for a lot of beekeepers not wanting to raise queens, and they always want to find some other way to do it, like a special kit or something that you don't have to graft. Hey, that's fine. Do what you need to do. But I like grafting. I really do. It gives me control over the quality of queen that I'm going to get to. And so let's continue to talk about this. So in this scene here, you can see I've pointed arrows. What is graftable? And that means it's a 1-day-old larva. A 1-day-old larva is what you want to graft. It's just barely a larva the first day, right? And you can see the one on the right arrow in the right corner. You can probably see that better. You can see the little curl to the larva. And as I said last week, it looks like the letter C kind of facing that way. And you can insert your grafting tool on the closed side of the C. Not, C is open where this part is open and the back side is closed. That's what we're saying. So like a Chinese grafting tool could scoop up under that larva where it's closed and get some of that royal jelly. And that's what you can move over to a queen cup that you like. Of course, you can see some eggs on the bottom right side too. So the timing of raising queens, you can take a screenshot or replay this or something, but this is basically how the timing goes, or kind of a refresher of your timing. The egg is laid, the egg hatches, and on day 3, that's when we do our graft, when it's about a 1-day-old larva. And then you move your queen cells. You move them after you graft them for 24 hours into a starter nuke. And after 24 hours in a starter nuke, you move them to a finishing hive. And then in a finishing hive on day 13, that's when you move them to where you want them. You want to move them to a queenless colony that needs queen, or you want to move them to some kind of mating nuke somewhere. That's when you move them, because they're going to hatch in 3 days. And so they do. On day 16, the queen emerges from her cell. That's earlier than workers who emerge on day 21 and drones on 24. And then the queen takes about a week to mate, somewhere between that time. It could be faster, a little bit slower. It depends on the weather. If she can get a couple of flights in to go mate. And then about 30 days after the egg was laid, then the queen will kind of start being able to lay eggs. She has to get mated, but it takes about a month. It takes about 30 days. It can be a little quicker, it can be a little slower, and that's kind of the timing. Even if you lose a queen and they raise their own, it's going to be about 21 to 30 days before you would even want to start looking for eggs in your hive. So you got to be careful. The queen cells that you're raising, you don't want to handle them roughly. You can injure the queen if you turn them horizontal. They need to stay vertical. And they need to stay in some place that's about 92 degrees. Otherwise, they can be damaged. So incubator or a hive where bees can get up around the cell and keep it warm, that's important. And so I think an incubator is really great. I've bought a couple of incubators. My incubator exists with either a chicken egg incubator that you can buy at a farm store, styrofoam. They're really good on holding the temperature right where you set it. I put a little cheap thermometer in there to make sure I get it 92 degrees. And then I adjust the thermostat and it's perfect. It really is. And when I was buying them, they were $20 or $30. They're really cheap. And so they're easy to buy. I also once bought a small refrigerator. It's kind of like a dorm refrigerator with the glass door on it. They're kind of made just to put Cokes in or something, I think. So I didn't damage it, but they had a plug on the bottom. It's sitting right over there, actually. And it became an incubator because I was down in Florida and was working and talking with Dave Mixa, if you know him. His son is doing a great job there with their queen operation, but he just had refrigerator after refrigerator incubating and holding cells and all. And I got that idea off him. So I just put a light bulb in there and put a thermostat, wired up, temperature. You can turn a refrigerator into an incubator with just light bulbs, heating it. So that works out really good too. I do. And then you can kind of watch them. So it's really easy to incubate these cells if you want to. Of course, you can always sell cells. You can sell them to people. Some people will buy a cell off you before they hatch even. Or you can be ready to place these cells. Now, if you look at the picture here, I apologize, it's small, but if you can see a cell that's been actually pushed into the side of the comb there. And I'll just leave the plastic queen cup and all. I'll take it all there and I'll smash the big wing, the ring or the wing of that plastic queen cup. I'll just smash it into comb and then enough where I can slide the frame down without damaging the cell. And then the queen emerges and voila, everything, it works out great. So that's one way to do it. Yeah, there's the incubators that I love. You can see the cells are sitting in there and it works out really good. And then you have to think about what color you're going to mark your queens. This is really hard to read, but this is our color system. It's an international code that we use for, identifying how old our queens are. And it's so spaced out that no queen can go live longer and be confused. So you can see at the very bottom, it's blues and it says 05. So this year, since we end in 5, it's going to be blue. And that is not my favorite color. I'd almost rather not mark a queen blue than mark her at all. Because a lot of the queen marking pens, their blue is kind of like a thorax color blue. I mean, when you mark them red or green or yellow or white, they pop. But a thorax color blue just kind of like, oh. So it's hard to find a bright blue. They're kind of a dingy dark blue, and it's frustrating. It's hard to see. So I've been known to not follow. I know, I'm going to say it. I have not always followed the International Code of Queen Colors. Oh, I know it's terrible. But hey, if I'm out there and in my pocket is a red marking pen or a white marking pen, wow, I don't care about that. I really don't, because I know how old my queens are anyway. I take notes enough the Hive. So it helps me see them better than blue. So it's not going to be the end of the world. You're not going to get arrested. Your local state inspector is not going to handcuff you and haul you away if you break protocol. But you can paint. I was at Hobby Lobby. Sherry loves to draw and paint. And so we were looking through the paints there. They do sell marking pens, same company that makes them. They're not marking pens. They're the same pens, but I don't know if they're cheaper there or cheaper at Queens or at bee stores. I don't know. But you can buy the pens at any of your big beekeeping stores. They sell marking pens. You can always go to Amazon. Or you can get really adventurous and buy a kit. I do this a lot of times. You just push the thorax of the queen up through these little grates on those little things. And then you can get a little disc with a number on it. And that way, if you have a bunch of queens that are red that year, but you want to distinguish them from other queens that you might be moving around and lose track of, you can number them. And it's just a little bit of non-toxic glue that you stick on the back side of that little disc and you press it down and it works so great. It really does. It sticks really fast. It stays on there good. And I think the queen feels really proud wearing that. I've noticed that my queens feel really proud. I would say they lay better. They seem to just be proud of wearing that disc on their back, and all the other bees are proud of it too. I think it's great. It looks good. Now, there are equipment that you need, and it's very minimal equipment. As beekeepers, we like to make our own equipment sometimes, and you can always do that. A Chinese grafting tool, I strongly recommend you start using that, although you can see that there's different types of like dental tools that you can get or buy that's associated with queen rearing. In the old days, there was people that would just use a stick. They would take, you may not know what a match is if you're, but a match, we used to have wooden matches. And so a lot of people would bite down and get the end of a match, not the fire end, but the other end, and get that piece of wood bit down to where it would be their grafting tool. Crazy, isn't it? But look what my daughter Korea is holding here. I want to emphasize this cell frame. This is a queen rearing frame that I made from a regular Langstroth Hive frame. I just popped the foundation out, and all I did was added spacers inside. I glued and stapled them on about 1.5 inches and left the gap. So that's called a cell bar frame. And the bars going across are called cell bars. And the cups, the plastic cups, are called queen cups. And that's the anatomy of a grafting frame. That's all it is. And then you need good lighting, because you're going to be looking at down in the cells for the larvae. So you got to have good lighting, and you might need visual assistance. Help you see the little tiny larvae. That's going to be good. I've made a video that was very popular on YouTube, I think last year or the year before. Sherry's dad made me on the top left side. He made me this device where I can dip it in the lower right-hand side. You can see me dipping, and I'm making my own wax cups. And it's so fun to do. I've got a video, search it out. You can see it, but I've got a video where this makes really good queen cups. And so I do sometimes make my own queen cups. And so again, this is just a cool way. It opens up a whole new venturous activity for beekeepers to be able to, make your own queens and make your own supplies to make your own queens. I love that. I know we live in a buy everything culture, throw it away when we're done. I'm still kind of like, I want to make my own things, and I don't want to throw them away. I want to fix them when I'm done, right? I hate having to throw things away just because of planned obsolescence. I mean, just forcing me to buy a new one. I'm not going to do that. I'll fix it first. But I did a little study years ago, a decade or 2 decades ago. And I experimented. Are the plastic queen cups that we buy from bee stores to raise queens in, we can dip them in wax around the rim a little bit, or not dip them, or we can use our own homemade wax cups that I just showed you that I make. And I tried all of those, and guess which one was best? It didn't matter a hill of beans. No, sir. So I think you should just decide what you want to do. I would say I got the most bang for my buck for the time that we were producing 100 queens a week from just plastic queen cups. Didn't have to wash them, didn't have to do anything, took them out of a bag, poke them in the cell bar. They were ready to receive a graft. That was just easy. So I still prefer plastic to this day. So the grafting frame, if you can see, that's about 1.5 inch spacer. And you can what you're trying to do is make your bar fit in to that frame. So you can, once you do your grafts, you slide it, turn it upside down, the grafts don't fall out. And then you can slide it in there and take it out to your starter hive. So it's really easy just to make your own little frame like that. I've got a ton of these that I made, and some of them are really makeshift. The gap isn't all that critical, how big the gap is. It needs to be able to receive your frame bar, but I have a big blob of beeswax or propolis nearby. If it's too loose, I just put some wax in there, tighten her up, or a little propolis or something. It's great, easy to do. The grafting tool that I talk about a lot, I'm going to show you a video, okay? I'm going to show you a video that's from my my online queen rearing course. But this is the Chinese grafting tool. This is what I live by. I think I'm a really good cyclist, and I love cycling. I know everything about bikes. I rebuild bicycles. I grew up on a bike. I raced bikes. I know a bike better than the back of my hand. But I think I know a Chinese grafting tool just as good. because I've grown up using these and I love them. This is one of the original ones that is built really good. The newer ones are a little more plasticky, but this is a great one here. So anyway, you can see me grafting here, and I have a good bit of light. I'm wearing some really good reader glasses that are really high powered, and I can see the grafts, and I can pull them and put them in the bar that's right a little bit offset from the actual frame. So let me show you the video. Okay, I want to show you the video here. All right, so I've got a video that I'm going to show you. Ready? I want to show you how to graft. So you're going to see, this is from my queen rearing course, and it teaches, which we're going to give away tonight, but it does teach you how in the world you work the Chinese grafting tool.
Several images where we're actually putting larvae down into a queen cell. Using the Chinese grafting tool, you can see the plunger pushing the larva off onto the bottom of the cell. And by looking this over and over, I think you'll get an understanding of how to do it. We actually cut a queen cell in half so that we could get our camera there for you to observe it on what is going on. It's kind of hard to see in a frame, and that's why we chose to do it in this kind of a more visual example here.
All right, let me show you this. Hang on. There we go. So you can see here the Chinese grafting tool that I use has the little plunger. You simply operate it by pushing the button on top. And in this case, if you watch closely, you can just push the larva like this off of the tip. And here we go, lifting it out. It's down there on the bottom, and you just go in on the closed side and you scoop it and lift it. See that larva coming up with you? And then you could put it back.
Okay, so in these next scenes, you can.
So back. Okay, so that's a good example of how easy it really is to do that. And once you get the hang of it, it's not hard to do at all. Now, I want to answer one more question that somebody asked me last week about queen rearing. Then we're going to jump into our other activities for the live stream tonight. But one of the things somebody asked me is like, how many hives do I need? How many this and that? How many hives does it take and all? Well, listen, the sky's the limit, right? I mean, obviously, if you want to raise 1,000 queens a week, you're going to need a lot of hives, so on. So it's really hard to come up with a number. But the best way that I can describe what you're going to need is probably to break it down on real simple terms, okay? If you want to raise 1 or 2 queens, all you got to do is get a starter nuke box like we talked about last week, 5 frames. And you don't need a lot of grafts. I would always have twice as many grafts as the queens you want to raise, because you could have a failure rate in the beginning. So if you want, let's say you want 5 queens, be sure and do 10 grafts, because you may lose half of your grafts. They may not develop. So try to do that. Now, if you're wanting just to raise, say, less than 10, let the starter nuke raise them all the way out to day 13 when they're 3 days away from hatching, and then you can move them to somewhere else. Let them stay in the starter hive. I've done that so many times that I just needed some queens quickly. I just needed a few, put them in a starter box, put all my nurse bees in there. They raise them all the way out. But yeah, on the other hand, when I'm trying to raise 40 to 60 queens at one time in a starter hive, there's not enough nurse bees in there to support that many queens all the way through to when they're finished. That's why you move them after 24 hours into a large 2 deep box with a queen excluder, put your grafts on top, queen on the bottom. So that's why you can raise a lot at one time. So to answer the question more simply, I guess the other thing is mating nukes. How many mating nukes do you need? Well, the way to look at it is, if let's say you want to raise 10 queens, you're going to need 10 mating nukes, because they have to be separated. You can't put all the queens in one box, right? So each queen that you're wanting to raise has to be able to live after she emerges. That's a virgin queen. She has to live in a box and go mating and come back to that box. So every queen you raise has to have their own individual mating box, mating nuke. So, and I always use the number 4. That worked out pretty good for me when I was doing 100 a week. But if you're doing 10, but let's say you want to raise 10 queens a week. Now, if you were savvy, you could sell 10 queens a week, and 10 is not many. That's just nothing. And let's say you sold them for $40. Well, 10 times 40 is $400. You can make $400 of sideline kind of money, side hustle money. And so what you would need to keep that going, though, if you want to raise 10 a week, that means there's a cycle. And so what I found was if you're raising 10 a week, you need to multiply that by 4, and you need 40 mating nooks. So you have 10 grafts that you put in. And so when you get to a place where you're selling queens from their mating nooks and you see they're laying good, then you drop back to where you put them last time. The cycle works out perfect if you have 4 and you keep track of which ones are ready. And then when you sell the ones out of the mature ones that are laying good, after you get those out of there, you push the queen cells in there on day 13. And in a month, they're going to be ready again to be sold because they'll be laying and you can examine their laying pattern. Now, if you want to do 100, if you want to sell 100 a week and make $4,000 a week, you're going to need 400 mating nooks. And that's the way to cycle those out. So yeah, just wrap your mind around that. Now we're going to get into a question and answer time. I got some giveaways coming up. We got spin the wheel to come up as well. And but if you have questions about anything with beekeeping or more about queens, now's the time to ask me questions just before 7:30. What kind of questions do you have about beekeeping or even about queen rearing? All right. Hey, Mike. Question is, raising queens sometimes that a beekeeper should try first for years, or something that should have more experience in keeping the hive alive first? Both of those make a lot of sense. I would say don't wait until you can keep your hive alive first, because a lot of beekeepers can lose hives even though they do the best and follow the protocols exactly. Bees are in the animal kingdom. They die when everything is done correctly to them. They can still die, right? So don't wait for that. Jump in there, do it. In fact, what you might learn in queen rearing might teach you how to keep your bees alive. So yeah, I'd encourage you to jump in there. Absolutely. Hey, Nathan, I'm planning on putting my hive rex right in the middle of my flower garden. Is that a good idea? Do I want my bees to travel? That is a very good question, Nathan. Thanks for asking that tonight. A lot of beekeepers think that, bees are going to go just outside the hive, save them all that energy and time, and it's going to work out better for where your hives are and all. It doesn't work out that way. It really doesn't. You'll be frustrated. Your bees will fly over your flower garden, especially whatever you plant. You got to really research, make sure your flower. But even if you plant clover right there, the thing they want the most of, they're going to fly over it. They're going to go to a field that is gigantic. They're going to go to a forest that is full of flowering black locust trees and just ignore everything that's on the ground that might be the 2 miles before they get to where they want to go. So you will be disappointed. Unless you're putting down at least a half acre of something, they're likely to fly over it. That's sorry to be the bearer of bad news. No, but your young bees do. Now, let me back up. The bees that are brand new foragers, they do get their wings by going really closely. You'll see them doing that. They'll fly close to things, but not in great number. The foraging force goes to the plentiful, the largest area they can find. Doesn't matter if the larvae gets flipped over when grafting. Absolutely. All bees have spiracles, breathing tubes, and on both sides of them. And if you'll notice a larvae, one half of the spiracle tubes is below the royal jelly. So they're not using those for oxygenating their cells, only the ones pointing up. If you flip it, it would probably suffocate the larvae. So try not to flip it over. Keep that side always pointing up when you graft. Keep that side up. Good questions tonight. Hey, Robert. I always mispronounce spirulina. But can that powder be used instead of pollen substitute for bees, or would it be better to blend the two? I don't. I think it would be fine to blend the two. I love to eat it myself. I think it's a good thing to eat, and I'm sure it's not bad for bees. I know some people say it's great for bees, but I don't feed it to my bees because I have really good success over the years just giving them pollen substitute powder. And so what works for me, I hate to dabble, because I'm afraid it's going to mess something up. Yeah. But it might work good for you. I always say I don't own the corner of all bee knowledge. And I also want to support whatever people want to do until I know for a fact it's bad. Otherwise, I'm going to stand behind you and say, do it and keep me posted. You might discover the greatest thing yet. Will marking pins for welding work, or are they specific for beekeeping? I'm not familiar with marking pins for, I weld a little bit, not sure about the marking pins, but it needs to be a non-toxic ink. Here, let's do this, Mike. Stick with Queen marking pins that are known and work good, stay on the back of the bee well. Because I've done, back in the old days, we used, what is that? I can't remember the paint that we use. I want to say Tesla, but that's not right. But there's a model paint that we use to paint models. So we would use that on our bees. And I think it was a little toxic, to be honest with you. I seemed to get high with it when I was making models and painting my models. Came in those little glass jars. I loved them. And I've tried all kind of different things. I've just decided, spend the $8 or whatever, buy a Queen marking pen. You'll be happy. Hey, John, thanks for the donation tonight. All of you are making donations. Thanks to all of you. I appreciate you supporting the live stream. It means a lot to me and all of us here to keep our live stream going. So appreciate it. Upstate New York on January the 10th, girls and a few on top. I ran to grab the winter bee kind and return top full of bees. I then checked in the past Saturday. The winter bee kind was mostly empty. How fast do they go through the winter bee kind? They go through the winter bee kind as fast as they need it. So in your case, John, your bees are really needing it. They're very hungry, and I dare say they're raising brood. Don't let them go without a winter bee kind, or they will die. They will perish. They are setting things up depending on your feeding them. And if you let go of not feeding them, they've got too much brood. They're not clustering as much. Got to keep those on there. Absolutely. That's good to hear, though. Yeah. Hey, Rick. Oh, yeah, Testers. There you go. Thank you. Testers model paint. Remember that? They probably still make it. I had a whole room full of that. Hey, Jim, how are you doing? Hello, David and crew. I'm in Marshall, just south of you. Yeah. When Sherry and I started dating, we would always go to Marshall. There was a restaurant there by the interstate. Gosh, I don't remember the name of it. It seemed like it had the letter M in it, but it was on the north side of the interstate, northwest side of the interstate. Sherry and I would go down there as teenagers and eat down there. Great place. When this cold hit, I put some straw on the south and west side of my hives as a windbreak. At what temperature should I remove those? 80. 80 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't know. Don't move them yet. My goodness, leave them on there. Do you have it right up against the hive? Don't put it right up against the hive. It might hold too much moisture in the, hay or straw, but you want to move it about a foot back in case it does hold moisture. It won't get on your wood and get the bees too moist, but leave it on there for a while. Yeah, absolutely. Those are good questions. It was fun going to Marshall back with you too. Hey, Christy, I plan to use a cloak board method this spring for raising queens. Sue Colby has done a lot of research on the cloak board. The hive I am using is my biggest hive. Should I split the hive to prevent swarming before using the cloak board method from Pennsylvania? I'm going to say no, because if you hold them together, they want to make queens to swarm. So you might be more advantageous to utilize all of those bees in there with your cloak board method. By the way, in John Zavishlak's book we do give examples on how to use that cloak board it's the last chapter of that book. So I would utilize overcrowdedness, all those bees to help me make queens. Yeah, that's a good question. Danny, how are you doing tonight? Do you need to let bees clean or polish the queen cups before you graft into them? Now, that's something that I've heard a lot of people say, and a lot of times we think so. And I tried to do both, and it didn't make any difference at all. No, it didn't. It doesn't. I would not worry about that. Try it. I think they're going to just be fine with it. It never was a problem with me. So I just take them right out of a bag, put them in there, graft right into them, boom, they're done. Yeah. I heard Larry Connor say once, he's a big queen, and he and I talk at meetings and all. And he's written a lot of books on queens. He said that, I believe it was him that told me this, that, there was a time when we felt like we needed to put something in the queen cup before we laid the larva in there, because we felt like they needed to continue eating. So people would use things like yogurt. I remember somebody jokingly said they put Coca-Cola in there and floated the new larva on the Coca-Cola. But Larry said that if you put the yogurt, or maybe it was frozen. A lot of people freeze royal jelly and then they use it to insert in a cell before they drop the larva in there. That's called a wet graft. And in that case, he said, every larva gets a specific kind of royal jelly, and a specific amount and everything. And he said they would just eat that up and put their own in there anyway. So I don't do any of that. No, just let them take care of it. When the temps warm up enough for potty flights, will the cluster relocate to an area of better resource? They will always do that if they're able to do it, whether to take on potty flights or not. So in other words, if they can move and they're big enough, they don't have to cluster as tight, they will attempt to move. That's where they get into trouble though. When they move and it drops down to 4, like today, it's a really good example. Today in Illinois, it got up to almost like 26 degrees Fahrenheit. Now that's enough where a big hive can break cluster and start moving through the frames and go somewhere else. But tonight, 4 degrees Fahrenheit. So in their process of moving, I've seen bees they start getting cold, and I can see them get separated. The cluster breaks into 2 clusters, and then they're not warm enough. I've lost hives before, and when I did an analysis, a forensic analysis, there were 2 separate clusters, small clusters. The weather's been so bad. Lucas, thanks for your continued Q&A streams. Thanks, Lucas. Sadly, my hive didn't make it this winter, but I have a lot of frames of honey. How many do you recommend I give to my new nuke this spring? If you buy a new 5-frame nucleus, that means you're going to put them probably in a 10-frame box. So I would give them at least, you got to leave room for the queen to grow. They're going to get their own honey in there. 2 frames of honey per deep box. Yeah. First deep box, put 2 of them, 2 frames of honey in there and a little bit outside the brood area. And then do the same when you make your top box too. You can put a little more in your top too, by the way. That'll help them out a lot. Packages too. Do you ever let a queen hatch in your starter and lay for a while to replenish and prevent laying workers? Yeah, Jimmy, you did tell your name. You said not telling, then you said your name. I've done that before. Absolutely. I let a queen hatch. Oh, in my starter hive? Oh, I sometimes I turn my starter hive into a mating nook by leaving a queen in there. But what I do also do is when the virgin queen comes back and she's mated and she starts laying, sometimes I'll let her stay there a week or 2 to replenish and build up that mating nuke to receive the next queen. Sometimes that works out good too. Again, queen rearing, you can do anything. You can put any kind of different twist you want to on it. Doesn't really matter a bit. I wouldn't worry about that stuff. Charles, when the queen emerges, how do you keep them from killing each other? Good question. I probably didn't make that clear enough. Under no circumstance can queens ever get in the same area. You have to keep your queen cells. Everybody has to be separated. Even in my incubator, I put the queen cells into a California mating cage, and they fit down in there. And so when she emerges, she's in a cage. They have cell protectors too you can buy. So anytime a queen emerges in your incubator, for example, can't get in contact with another queen. You put them in a starter, or you put them in a mating nook. There's no queens in the mating nook. They're queenless. They're waiting for their queen. Keep them separated. Yep. They will fight. One will die. Sometimes both will die in a fight. Very alarming. Can you raise queens with one hive? Absolutely. The bees do it all the time. Great. That's a great way to think about it, right? So if the bees can do it, you can do it. And you're just going to do it on a small scale. You're just going to take a couple of frames out, make your starter hive. Don't have to have 5 frames in your starter nuke. Put 2 or 3 frames in your starter nuke. They'll make them queenless. They'll raise. They don't have to have millions of. When I told you about putting a lot of nurse bees in your starter nuke, that's for raising 40 or 60 queens. But for raising your own queens, you can do it with 1 or 2 frames in your starter box. Yeah. And don't even have to use a finishing hive. Larry, you mentioned selling queens. How do you go about that? Is there a marketplace? Oh my gosh, yes. You have to be kind of business savvy. You have to be able to kind of like build your own Shopify website or eBay or Craigslist or if you want to be old time, you can take a poster down to the local farm store, say queens for sale, newspaper ads, Facebook. You could put them on social media, get a YouTube video going. But all you have to do is find a buyer. That's the thing about selling anything. Once you find the buyer, you got queens to sell. But if you go really, efficiently advertise yourself in the right places, you will never produce enough queens to satisfy the demand. It is one of the most demanded things in beekeeping. It is unbelievable. People will bug you nonstop to get one of your queens. I'm honest, they will. It's fascinating. Hey, John, how often do you replace your queens? About every year. Sometimes I'll let them go 2 years, never 3. It just works out better. They overwinter better with a young queen. They swarm less in the spring with a young queen with strong pheromones. Always works better. One more, and we're going to spin the win. One more question. And we got other questions coming up. We got a giveaway, so don't go anywhere. Hey, Rick, your comment on just raising queens in starter hives, does that work as long as you keep the starter hive overcrowded, or can you use standard queenless nukes? Oh, yeah. It depends on if you just have a few queens that you want to raise, you don't have to crowd it. You really don't. Just have a few nurse bees and take care of that 1 or 2 queen cells. That'll be fine. Yep. All right. This is the time that we do the spin to win. All right. Where is it? There it is. Electrical cords everywhere. Don't want to hit the power button and go blank on you. But this is a great time when we can spin to see what the wheel may want us to do. And hopefully it'll land on something fun. We've got a lot of good things on here tonight. So let's spin it and see what happens. All right. Let's get ready. Ooh. Round dance. It landed on a round dance. Why does it land on dances all the time? The last time I had to do a waggle dance. Tonight, I've got to do a round dance. Is this thing rigged? Oh my gosh. All right. Well, a round dance is when the bees find some things close by, and it's kind of like saying to the bees, hey, something is really close to the hive. Go out there. I marked it with some pheromone. You can smell it and you can find it. So now David Burns, backed by popular dance demand, is going to do a round dance. Okay. Oh my gosh. I can't believe this. This must be a dream or something. How does this happen? All right. Oh, well, I'm stuck. I'm tripping over my microphones. I didn't really set this up for a dance studio. That's why it's awkward. I'm just going to build a dance floor, I think. All right. How would you do a round dance? All right. Ready? Here we go. How am I doing? Pretty good? Last time I got winded. All right. That's a round dance. Let's go round and round. I'm going to name this Embarrass David to Win. We're going to do it one more time. And I'm not doing another round dance. That's over. Come on, people. All right, there goes the round dance. We're clear. A crazy bee story. We're going to give away something. No, wait. Yeah, it's a crazy bee story. It's true. So somebody called me and said, hey, I got a swarm in a tree. Can you come get it? I'm like, sure. In fact, it was between here and Marshall, Illinois. So it was years ago. I drove down there to a farmer, nice house. And when I got there, I'm like, ooh, that swarm's way up in a lot higher in the tree than you told me. Yeah, it is. I was like, well, wow, I don't know how I can get up there. And he said, well, I got a big piece of equipment with a big, lift on it. And I'll throw a pallet on it and I'll just lift you up there on this big piece of machine. Well, it wasn't really a very safe thing. And when it lifted, I don't know what it was, but it kind of, I was standing on a pallet. There was nothing to hold on to, and it was probably a good, let's see, my house is 30 feet at the peak. It was at least 30 to 40 feet high, it felt like. But every time he lifted, it kind of lifted like this. And then he would have to level it and lift and level it. I was for sure I was going to die. But anyway, he raised me all the way up with my bucket. I don't know. I don't think I had a bee vac, but I had a bucket, and he got me up in that tree with that swarm. And it was one of the most scariest rides of my life. I was probably 40 years old at the time. And anyway, he raised me up there. And then when I shook him in there, he had to bring me down. And that thing was the same way. Maybe some of you farmers know what kind of equipment that was, but it was just kind of real jerky. He was trying to keep me level from sliding off. And the pallet was trying to slide off. It was like forks that ran through a pallet or something. It was crazy. I was never so ground. I may have kissed the ground when I got down. It was crazy. That's a crazy story. Probably a telehandler. Yeah, I don't know. It was not good. Yeah, but we got it. We did it. All right. Well, let's have a giveaway tonight. We're going to give away my online queen rearing course. So those of you that saw some images earlier of my queen rearing course, it's an online course. If you don't win tonight, you can always purchase it. Also, we have the book available on our website, the queen rearing course. A lot of you purchased that after the last live stream too, that John and I wrote, a booklet. And so it's full color, and we walk you through how to raise queens. But this is the online course that goes into more detail about how to raise queens, and it goes into a little bit about how you can sell them, how you put them in a queen cage and ship them. That's important too. I kind of I don't think I invented it because I'm a young guy, right? And queen rearing's been around forever. But what worked for me on getting them shipped to the customer is to put a drop of water on the cage, put 4 attendants in there, and then that worked out so good to get them there, even if they take a long path to get there. You got to have a drop of water on there. It's amazing what a drop of water does. Yeah. So yeah. So #queen, your chance to win the online queen rearing course. And again, if you don't win tonight, you really want to get it, just go to honeybeesonline.com and you'll see the online courses there. It's part of the ultimate course that many of you have purchased. So if you've got the ultimate course, it's in there. But yeah, #queen will help you understand and wrap your mind around queen rearing. Me, I like to keep it simple. I'm not going to, make it all complicated. I want you to succeed. So I try to make it simple as if you're just getting your feet wet. So get your comment in there real quick. Somebody put down all capital letters. That may not be a winner. So keep it all lowercase. Try it again. #all lowercase QUEEN. Putting your name in there 10,000 times will not improve your chances to win. If you already own the course, then don't put #queen in there. It's not money you're winning. You're not going to be richer getting a queen rearing course twice. And so if you already own it and you win it, and then you might ask us, well, I already own it, but I won it. Can you give me something else? That's not how it works. We're giving one away tonight to someone that doesn't own it. Okay. Just know that's how it goes down. All right, Robbie, let's do it. Let's see what we got tonight. Get that comment in there quick. There's still time before he spins. Not #slay. Don't do that. #queen. All right, here we go. I'm excited for whoever might win tonight. Yeah. And then after you win, you need to email us within 24 hours to bigsquadwinner@gmail.com. So do that within 24 hours of winning with your email address so that we can get that sent right out to you. Okay. Robbie has spun, and here we go. See who wins tonight. Thanks somebody. I want to thank all of you for watching. Got a big crowd tonight. Adam's Outdoors. All right, Adam. There you go. Well, good luck, Adam. Be sure to email us within 24 hours, Adam. BeakSquadWinner@gmail.com. Let us know you won, and we'll get that class sent right out to you. Congratulations to you. That's great. And you guys are great. You know what? I'm feeling really generous tonight. Let's do that again. Somebody else. Oh, yeah. Somebody else is saying, oh, I almost won. Oh, I saw my name for a second. Then it went to the next guy. Let's do it again, Robbie. Let's give someone else a second chance to win a queen rearing course. That's probably the thing I love most about beekeeping. It's raising queens. It's more fun than honey. That's for sure. It's just a hoot. So, yeah. Oh, here we go. Even if your name goes by, it may come around again. So it's not going to go to the end of the list. So let's keep hoping. All right. Who's going to win the second chance? William Sloan. William, there you go. All right. 2 winners tonight. Be sure and email us, beaksquad@honeybeesonline.com. Okay. Very good. Good job tonight. Wow. Amazing. All right. Let's go into some more questions this time. Sherry, Jessica, Robbie, or whoever's putting questions for me. Rapid fire. This is going to be the rapid fire rounds of me answering as many questions as fast as I can. Okay. All right. What's the best way to get a jump start on controlling small hive beetle in the spring? 2 things: heavy duty, overpopulated hive, and a lot of techniques such as trapping and different types of microfiber rags in there. Yeah. What's the best thing to put in your smoker to keep it smoking well? For me, it is burlap, hands down. But it's up to you. But burlap works great for me. Food grade quality burlap. Always I'll link to it in my descriptions of my videos. Have you ever heard of smoking your hive with tobacco leaf in the smoker fuel for Mite Control? A beekeeper that does that with great success. I have a good friend that did a study on that, and he said absolutely not. Nicotine is in tobacco. That's an insecticide. It kills insects. I would never do it. I don't know why he's having success, but it would not be something I would ever recommend. No. David, a gentleman told me today when he buys packages, he receives 2 queens each time in case one dies. Is that normal in this industry? It's not normal in the industry. It is a good safeguard. One of the things that I say 2 things over and over again, in beekeeping, got to cowboy up and get it done. Also, I say this: 2 is 1 and 1 is none. Not a bad idea. Sometimes we do lose queens in the package. Hi, David. Can you packing styrofoam for wraps? Can you use packing styrofoam for wraps? Yeah. You mean wrapping hives? Use everything. You can wrap them with anything that is helpful. Absolutely. How do you feel about double screen board diving the bottom deep super for splitting? If you do research and learn about double screen boards, dividing, it really works well. Yeah, I've done that with a lot of work, a lot of success. Double screen bottom boards and all that stuff. If I make a candy board and it's not really hard, can I still use it in my hive? Yes. Hold it sideways for about a minute and make sure it just doesn't all pour out. And if it doesn't really pour out that much, it doesn't really leave the board, but you can maybe see a little bit running, it's fine. Absolutely. The bees will lick that up. I like this rapid fire question. Well, here we go. How early is too early to start waxing foundations for the spring flow? You're behind if you haven't started yet. No, you can start anytime. As long as you get it done before the bees need it, you're okay. Start now. Absolutely. Sometimes a huge hive can have more than 1 queen. How do they decide to let that happen? Sometimes I've heard it's a mother-daughter relationship. And I was talking on my live stream or my Zoom meeting last night, and there was a gentleman there that said 9 of his hives had multiple queens in them. And he had it divided with just a queen excluder. Worked out fine. It's more common than you think. It's just a toleration that they have. Okay. Letting 2 be in there at once, I guess. Yeah, what's the next dance, David? Okay, Tim, I'm going to look up another dance that bees do. I'm going to find one that's ridiculous. And obviously, I'll be doing that next week, the way this is working for me. So, yeah, I'll just look up another dance. Guys, leave a comment about what dance you want me to do, what bee dance. Can a person make a good living just raising queens? Depends on what you mean by good living. If you live, a decent life where you're not wanting to live in a yacht and have 5 houses across the world, I think you could make. You can't have a yacht and 5 houses. No, but you can make a decent living. It is hard work. Don't let me say that it's not get rich quick. You have to be a really, really good beekeeper and have a lot of time or the ability to hire people to help you out. I'm excited to split my hive, but nervous too. Just want to know how far to move the hives away from each other. When you make a split, you can keep it close by, but you have to put something in front of it so your foragers in the split that you're walking away with won't get confused and go back to the mothership, their main hive. I like the natural wood look. Can you seal the outside of your boxes with clear varnish? First year beekeeper in Central Florida. Absolutely, you can. Let that air out for a week before you put bees in it. And also make sure you use external varnish and not internal, interior. You want to use exterior varnish on that. But yeah, you can do that. Absolutely. Going to take one more. Hi, David, Ben. Have you ever used swarm traps? And if so, where did you use? How did you use? Find a specific size configuration works best. I have, and it's been 50-50 on me. I have a good friend, Lauren Kinney, a good helper with the bees here for me. And Lauren does a great job collecting swarms. He puts traps out. He buys the kind of the brown cardboard traps bee companies sell. He puts some swarm. What is the name of that swarm chemical you put in there? I can't remember the name right now. Swarm something. And you put that in there, kind of a lemon smell, and boom, you can just attract a lot of bees that are swarming. Hang them 20 feet off the ground or something like that. Does a good job for him. All right, we have crossed the 59-minute line. Wow, where did the time go? Oh my goodness. Okay, well, thanks so much, guys. Tomorrow I'm going to produce the green chair answer chair. I'll be answering your questions that didn't get answered today, maybe a few more. May not answer them all if I answered them here already, or if I've answered them last week, I might skip it. But I'll try to do my best to answer many questions tomorrow, maybe even some from my YouTube channel. So look for that video in the afternoon tomorrow, green chair answer day. Let me just close by giving a shout out to Robbie, Jessica, and Sherry. What a great job they did tonight. And you guys are the best. I mean, I have found my people. You guys are so fun to be with. I appreciate all of you so much. Thanks for your donations tonight for the live stream. Swarm Commander, there you go. And I love you guys tremendously. I love just helping you grow in beekeeping and in life too. And appreciate you being here. Good seeing you. And I want you to be sure and check out my YouTube channel. You might find a video that you haven't seen. The last couple people have really enjoyed. So be sure and check all my videos out. I'll see you guys in the next video. Good night.